Hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. This is the preview with me, Rob Hayes, and Andy Moore of For Fox's Sake as well. We are here with the last show for you before Christmas to look ahead to Leicester versus Watford on Boxing Day. Before we do so, last chance before Christmas to remind you of our brand new website launching on January the 1st, for foxsake.news. Pete and I, 12 years, the For Fox's Sake co-hosts, have teamed up with Andy, who, if you're watching live, you can see on the screen right now. If you're watching back or listening back, that's the voice, that's the man you're going to hear talking all things Leicester versus Watford in a few minutes' time. We've teamed up. We're now a sort of trident, a three-pronged attack, a front three, if you like, For Fox's Sake. And we are bringing you lots more content from January the 1st. The website's looking amazing. Andy and I have been working really hard on it. Pete's been throwing his ideas around. I mean, those of you that have listened and watched for long enough will know that Pete is very much an ideas man, and me and Andy are the people that are going to try and make it happen. The shows aren't going anywhere. Shows like the preview and all of our reaction stuff will still remain free and available on all the platforms that you consume it on already. There's just going to be even more stuff for you to sink your teeth into on our new subscription website, for foxsake.news. Get yourself there now if you haven't already. Register your email address for the early sign up, and you'll be eligible for a discount for either 1 month of For Fox's Sake if you just want to try it out, or for an entire year's subscription. But you've got to get in your email address in nice and early, for foxsake.news. Before we get into the fixture itself, because we had a show yesterday, me, Andy, and hosted by Pete, to try and pick apart the QPR defeat. And we're going to try to make this as festive as possible in terms of an episode. So let's start with something that you can look forward to on Boxing Day if you're going to the King Power. They have a festive edition of the Fan Zone. Yeah, that you're going to get the gist that this has got nothing to do with the football in a few minutes' time. Desford Colliery brass band are there. They're the British champions, the national champions in brass bands. They're going to be there. Discount on pints in the concourses, £5 a pint of Chang. And the Boxing Day sale starts in the fan store, and that's a day before you can get it online. So there's just some reasons that you might want to get yourself down to the King Power Stadium on Boxing Day, even if you're not sure you fancy the football. If you're watching along live with us this afternoon, it's the 23rd of December. What day is it? Tuesday, yeah. You lose track over Christmas, don't you? Then get your comments in. Let us know what you're expecting, what you're anticipating for the Boxing Day game. And as ever, predictions a little bit later on in the show. Andy, I always start the preview. I say start. I've been babbling for 3 minutes now already. But with the question, are we feeling optimistic or pessimistic for Boxing Day? How are you feeling?
Probably slightly pessimistic after, obviously, Saturday. I was very optimistic, obviously, the last 3 or 4 games beforehand kind of thing. So it has slightly gone the pessimistic route. But I still think that we can't just look at one game. We have to look at the last month or so, and over the last 3-4 games before QPR, there was certainly a lot to look forward to, a lot better. One little blip has obviously rendered a lot of that confidence as mute. But yeah, a little bit pessimistic. I'm hoping that we see some kind of start that's fast out the gates. I don't want to see Watford get on top of us early. I want to see a reaction. And I think that's the main thing for me. Let's see a reaction. Let's see that they actually care, and they want to put it right, and they want to start off on the right foot going into 2026 and get some points behind us.
I think the frustrating thing is, and Cifuentes has come out and said it again this week, where Ricardo's had to come out and say it. But it's almost like a copy and paste job. You know, if I'm working in Leicester's media team, I can just take the points that Cifuentes said after the last time we got battered and just copy and paste it. And it's kind of like that was way below the standards that we expect. That was not the level that we can reach. And we owe it to ourselves and to the fans to put it right. But we seem to be going on an almost sort of every 3 to 4 games, maybe not even that long, we come back around the cycle and we sit at this point again where we say Leicester need to react on the pitch in the next fixture. And that's exactly what whichever player has been put up in front of the media that week has been sort of having to say, has been forced to say themselves by their own performances. I'm not saying anyone's got twisting their arm up the back and saying spit these lines out, but they've got no choice because the fans need to hear the honesty, which is it's not good enough. At least they're not trying to paper over those cracks. But ultimately, how many times in a season can you react to getting comprehensively beaten by teams that you should at least be on a par with, if not a little bit more?
It's like robots, aren't they? It's just the same thing being churned out time and time again, and you want to see them break that cycle. And it's, if we could just break that cycle, if we can go on a run, an 8 to 10 game run where you think, oh, you know what, we are picked up. We're going to be flying into February where on the back of, I don't know, 18 points out of 21, something stupid like that. They'll get us right up there and get rid of those lingering doubts about relegation kind of thing. And it's the same thing you see on Twitter and Instagram and about Abdul Fatahu's Instagram posts and things like that. And people are now saying, oh, let's see what Abdul's going to say this week kind of thing. And it's hard to see that kind of thing because it is negativity around the club, and that's what it is. And you want to be engaging with posts like that for the positivity rather than the, oh, let's listen to what Abdul says. And it's the same thing over and over again. And I want to see a reaction. I want to see a long-term reaction. I don't want to see a short-term reaction. I think that's the main thing that we need to see, and it's got to come around sooner rather than later if we are going to get rid of those doubts, as said, about the relegation and the upcoming points deduction show.
And there's clearly some ability there because the first halves of the games that we've won recently have been totally the opposite to the first half against QPR and to the first half against Sheffield United and to the first half against Southampton. We've basically done to teams what has been done to us. So I think really it's kind of, we're at a point where these kind of performances need to come off the back of a previous good one. That's how you get on those runs that you're talking about, and that's how you generate a bit of momentum in a league that is really, really congested in the middle of the table with teams that are doing exactly the same as us, piecing together maybe 2 or 3 results or performances and then having a little bit of a nosedive. And last week before QPR, we were talking about looking up and being very close to the playoffs, and then you get battered by QPR. You drop to 13th, and all of a sudden we're sat here talking about mentioning the word relegation again. Now, if you caught our show yesterday, then you'll have heard us talk a little bit more about what impact the pending points deduction can have on Leicester and sort of what Andy, myself and Pete are hoping for from the season. 3 slightly different opinions, actually, I'd say. We didn't have a full-blown argument, but we did present slightly different ideas. So if you haven't caught that show yet, do have a watch back of that, and we won't get into it in too much detail, but it's surely got to be about, if you win a couple of games in a row, which we've not done that often this season, you're then in the dressing room before the next game going, right, lads, that felt great. That's elevated the noise level in the crowd. That has just quietened down a few of the worries that we've got, maybe even in the dressing room. So let's go out and put another one of those in. That it doesn't strike me that conversation happened pre-QPR. It struck me that the Leicester players had gone, oh yeah, last couple of results have been all right. We'll be fine today. And they've gone there, difficult atmosphere, difficult pitch, and a solid championship team, and got absolutely turned over.
No, I think you said something earlier about the way it feels and things like that. I mean, I hark back to the Ipswich Town game where we won 3-1, and the crowd got so behind them because they saw a longer period of consistent performance. And it's the first time I've probably heard that this year, where the crowd got behind them and everything seemed so positive. And that's the thing about it. And then you've got it. I suppose you go full circle back to the QPR and you see the manner of defeat. That's the thing. I think the manner of defeat, the consistent. If we're going to ship in a lot of goals when we do go on these losing runs, and that's what's concerning. And if we had lost a 2-1 or a 1-0 in the with 10 minutes to go kind of thing, the manner of defeat, you know that they're putting in a shift. But when you're 4-0 down at the break, that's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable to any side, obviously, but for Leicester fans and the way we've had the success over the last 10 years. I know we're not entitled to all that all the time, but we want to see that fight, and that's not what we're not seeing. So it's the manner of defeats that I'm really worried about, and that's what makes it the pessimistic route at the moment. Would I have been as pessimistic had it been a 1-0 and 2-1 or something like that? I don't think I would have been. I'd have just thought we're right in that game and it's just not gone our way. But it's the manner of defeat that's really got me worried.
4 goals in 45 minutes will do that to you. Hello to Tony Smith, who's watching. 2 clean sheets in 22 games. Worst defence in the league, bar QPR, Norwich and Wednesday. Why do we expect anything other than dross? Now, Andy kind of touched upon it there, saying that obviously in the last decade or so, we've been treated to our fair share of success. And I don't think that we necessarily, well, certainly not here at For Fox's Sake, we don't expect Leicester to go out and flatten every championship team 5-0 and put in the perfect performance. Nor is that really what we're asking for. What we're really asking for is if you get beat, make sure the other team have had to work really hard to beat you. You lose games in the championship. It's a 46-game season and it's a tough league. We're just expecting, especially now that we are 4 months into the season, we're expecting the Leicester players and the manager to have found a way to put together some consistent performances, even if that doesn't always equate to results. Interesting point as well from Dukowski, who's watching online as well, saying the players are in charge. It's up to the players if they want to play, and the manager is inconsequential as far as they're concerned. It's an interesting point because player power is something that's come up a million times before at Leicester City. And I don't think it's necessarily something that is as prevalent now in terms of the pack mentality. I think before, when you had that extraordinary leadership group of Morgan, of Vardy, of Albrighton, of that real core group of players who were absolutely desperate every single game to give everything for Leicester and make sure that those players around them who didn't necessarily seem like they quite understood that, they dragged them up with them. That kind of player power, once a relationship with the coaching staff went a little bit sour, they were in the pockets of the ownership and rightly or wrongly. And so they had their power there. And I didn't like that, but I didn't mind it as much. But the player power conversation now, I think, is a completely different one because there's not, for me, that core group. There's mentioned a number of times with different players talking to the media about leadership group. I know who's in it, but I don't necessarily see it as a group of proper leaders like those that we mentioned from years gone by. So I think this kind of player power is that Dukowski said, I'll put the comment back up there, that the players are in charge. It's up to the players if they want to play. But I personally think that that's on an individual basis. And too many times this season, you've only had 3 or 4 individuals who even look like they want to be putting in 100% for the shirt, and others have just been coasting along, whether that's because they don't buy into the manager's philosophy, whether that's because they're getting paid hefty wages and they don't really care about the performance, whether that's because they wanted out in the summer and didn't get out. I don't really care what the reason is, but I do think Marty Cifuentes has a difficult job. Football management is not an easy job anyway, but he has a difficult job because it doesn't strike me as that there's enough of a core group of players who are going to go out there and put a shift in for you every week or drag the others up to do the same.
I agree to the point as you both made kind of thing there. I think we saw it, and obviously we've got rid. It seems to me that we've got rid of some of the bad eggs, that the Winkses and the Fast. I know he's still in the squad, Fast, but it seems to me that we're trying to eke out those bad eggs that are causing lots of issues behind the scenes. But obviously, again, we saw, I think I touched upon it yesterday in the pod, we saw after the third goal, I think it was Jordan Ayew and Bobby De Cordova-Reid leading the huddle after the third goal went in. Well, I don't want that after the third goal. I want that at the start of the game, preferably. I want to see that then. I don't want to see it after the third goal. However, I am a bit happier that it has happened. So there does seem to be a little bit of leadership there. Is it the people I want to see in that leadership group? I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how committed both of them are. I mean, they've both come in. They're not the worst players in the world, and somebody has to do it, kind of thing. So and who else is there to do it? We obviously got Pereira as the captain, but whilst he's been a great long servant for us, I do see him as a bit of a yes merchant when it comes to speaking to the media. And just, again, trotting out those normal lines that you see after a deep kind of thing. So, yeah, that player power thing, we haven't got the players that, like you say, like the Morgans, the Vardas, the Schmeichels and all that from back then. That's what we're desperately in need of, I think. I think we need that. And like you say, the player power things, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think in this instance it would be a great thing for us, but that's only if you've got guys that are committed to the club and want to do the job of working 100% all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're watching live or watching back or listening back, if you missed yesterday's reaction to the QPR game, do head back and listen to it and watch it, because we also discuss on there what kind of profile of player, if you could choose any, that we'd be looking to get in January, and we all agreed that it would be somebody who's late 20s, early 30s, been around the block, solid championship player, who's going to take no nonsense from anybody in their own dressing room or any other dressing room. So do give that a listen or a watch if you've got time over the festive period. Let's have a look specifically then at team news for the Watford game on Boxing Day. The only player who's a doubt really is Yannick Vestergaard. Hasn't trained today being Tuesday the 23rd of December, due to a head knock that he sustained in the QPR defeat. But on balance, Caleb Okoli is expected to be available. So if Vestergaard's not, for me, it's likely that Okoli would come in. I mean, it depends really, because we don't know exactly the situation and Cifuentes' thoughts on Wout Faes. We only know our opinions. It'd be interesting if Okoli's fully fit, ready to go, and Vestergaard does miss out. It'd be interesting to see which of those two are chosen to partner Ben Nelson, because I assume, Andy, that you're on the same page as me, that Ben Nelson starts at centre-back. There's no choice really but to keep Luke Thomas at left-back, because, I mean, I don't think throwing a Luco in there is going to solve any problems. And then it's Ricardo and Hamza interchangeable at right-back. So the defence, albeit one that Tony mentioned earlier, has kept 2 clean sheets in 22 games. The defence, unfortunately, picks itself. But yeah, it would be interesting, actually, if Vestergaard is fit, whether it's Okoli or Faes who gets on the bench, because you mentioned Faes a few minutes ago. And I'm convinced the only reason he's still getting on the bench and has not been chucked on the scrap heap with Harry Winks is because there's no academy centre-back in a position to be on the bench in the Championship at this stage, because you look elsewhere and you've got academy players who can fit in other positions. You know, Louis Page is slightly more advanced midfielder than Winks, but he's preferred on the bench to Winks, so he's got that option. Doesn't really have a choice, and you know, leaving Faes out to not name a centre-back on the bench would then be kind of spiting yourself to potentially the detriment of the team. Yeah, so is Vestergaard a miss for you? Because he's clearly in that leadership group, very experienced player. He's integral to the sort of playing out from the back style that Cifuentes is continuing to persist with. And Okoli's not great on the ball. So Vestergaard might inspire a slight change in approach from Cifuentes if he's not available.
I'll phrase this properly. I'm a Vestergaard kind of fan. I believe he's quite key to what we do, and if we're going to play like that, then I think he's the guy that I prefer to see do that job. Long term, obviously, I'd much rather have a Ben Nelson and another there doing the job, but better than Vestergaard. But at the moment, I prefer Vestergaard there alongside Nelson. One, because last 2 or 3 games they have been forming a partnership. Whether it's been successful, obviously it's a work in progress. But I think if you're going to have Nelson there and you've had Vestergaard next to him for the last 3-4 games kind of thing, I want to see that try and carry on and be successful and get better and better so that they're on the same page more often and the mistakes get cut out. Again, whichever way you look at it, if Vestergaard is either fit or unfit, then I think it'll say a lot about the Fast situation. Is he only on the bench because of Caleb Okoli not being fit kind of thing? So if Vestergaard's not fit and Okoli starts ahead of Fast, then for me, Fast is on the outers. If Vestergaard is fit, who will we see on the bench? Will it be Okoli or will it be Fast? For me, again, I think it's just a matter of time before Fast is jettisoned like Winks. So I think it's quite crucial to see where the situation lies with them two. Vestergaard for me is a starter ahead of Okoli, even if both of them are fully fit kind of thing. He's as good as we've got in that position. He's not the Harry Maguire or the Johnny Evans type player that we all want at the moment, but he is what he is. And he's probably our leadership in that defence. For me, I think the more striking point there is behind him and the goalkeeper situation. I'm not convinced about Stolarczyk. I must admit, I much prefer having that experienced Begovic in goal. I mean, all of them have got mistakes in them, don't get me wrong, the goalkeepers, but much prefer to have that experienced head the way we're going at the minute and have Begovic in there.
Interesting. Very interesting. We'll see if Stolarczyk got given the #1 shirt at the start of the season. Cifuentes has brought him in pretty much as soon as he was available again post-injury, but he does rate Begovic. He brought him basically with him from QPR via a little sort of period in the wilderness in the summer. But yeah, it's an interesting point. I think the experience is what is going to drag us towards something like a Leicester team that we want to watch. Just one more point on the defence from Tony saying, should we give Suter a go when fit? He was good at the Blades on loan. Absolutely 100% for me. When he can defend in the Championship, no problem. I think he's still some weeks away from being able to play a Championship game. I don't get the impression that he's trained much in terms of full team sessions yet, but he's back on the grass after a long period of time out. And you know, he's got the second half of the season to aim for. He'd be a good option. And if Cifuentes likes the look of him and feels like his fitness is going to get there, it's another reason to elbow Wout Fast out the door in January. Just another thing on what Cifuentes has said about Watford. He said they're a good team that are in a good trend, having beaten Stoke last time out. They've got a clear style and experienced manager and a clear system on the way they defend and attack, so we need to be ready for a physical test. Now, pretty much, that's a short quote, but that does not fill me with any confidence, because we're at the minute not a great team. We're not in a particularly good trend of form. I don't think we have that clear a style, or if we do, I haven't seen the strength of that style. I mean, I can see what they're trying to do, but have I seen them do it very often? Not really. Do we have a clear system on the way we defend and attack? Who knows? Because one first half we score 3, the other first half we concede 4. So there's no clarity there. And are Leicester up for a physical test? Probably not. So if you take all of Marty's points there, then Watford are going to cause us quite a lot of bother. I'm not sure. I don't think Watford are that good, to be perfectly honest with you. Got a couple of quality players, but they're only a point ahead of us in 10th place at the moment on 32 points. Not that that's a good or a bad rating to be ahead of Leicester or behind them. We're not exactly the marker, are we? Not exactly the benchmark. But I think they've drawn quite a lot of the games recently. They've not looked amazing against teams that are struggling, like Norwich and Sheffield Wednesday. I'm not convinced Watford are any good, and they really should be a team that we should be talking about. What problems can we cause them, not the other way around. Blue tinted glasses, watching along, saying none of these teams are that good. We just make them look great. You are absolutely correct on that front as well. Let's have a quick look at Watford. Their manager is Javier Gracia, and when I realised that when I was prepping for the show, I was like, we've gone back in time about 7 or 8 years. He's back for his second spell. He managed them in the Prem, got them to their highest top flight finish since 1987, and this is in his last spell, and their second ever FA Cup final in their entire history. So he's come back for round 2. He's only been in since October. They sacked their Uruguayan manager, who's disappeared very quickly back to South America after a very, very short stint. They sacked Tom Cleverley in the summer. They sack a manager every couple of months, really, Watford. So I don't see anything that really should scare me. But Blue Tinted Glass is absolutely right, saying we are very good at making teams look good. Just a couple of players that they've got that might cause us some problems. A couple of Moroccans. Their captain Imran Loser's got 6 goals and 4 assists from midfield this season. Tidy player, good technician. They've got an absolute giant of a Danish striker. There's 2 basically 6'6" Danes going to go head to head on Boxing Day if Vestergaard's fit. Kieremgaard's got 8 goals in 20 games, which in your first season in English football on loan from Italy, I don't think it's a bad return at all. In a team that's not exactly flying, 8 goals in 20 games is decent. They've got a wonder kid who won the Under-20 World Cup with Morocco, Othman Mama, who they've had to already declare is not for sale, even though he's only been there since the summer as well. So I don't know whether they're hyping him up a little bit too much. So like other teams in the Championship, they've got a couple that can cause us problems, but ultimately it kind of comes back around, Andy, to your point right near the beginning of the show, that the conversation, the huddle, the geeing up of the players needs to happen before the game, and they need to, as soon as that whistle goes, they need to respond rather than waiting for something bad to happen and then trying the damage limitation after.
You put our team on paper, and I know football doesn't happen on paper against any other side in this league, or most other sides in this league at least, then we should be right up there. There's nobody in this league that scares me as a team. I think they're all much of a muchness. You put Watford in the same category as QPR. These are teams that we should be stronger than. Again, it's not a given. We're not entitled like that. Football's football. We've seen that for a long time. We saw that when we won the Premier League. Football is football. It happens sometimes. But these are teams, that I think I'm not scared of them, yet I am scared of them because I'm scared of them because I'm scared of us and how we are playing, how we are perceived, and how we continue to have that roller coaster of a season kind of thing. So it's really, really frustrating to see these teams that are nothing of nothingness, really. And I think it's myself, why are we not better? Why are we not in that top 8 challenging for playoffs? And it's so frustrating. And I just don't know how much more Leicester fans can take. We're going to have to take it, of course. But how much more can we take of this roller coaster kind of thing? At some point, we're going to want to get off.
Tony's come back in and kind of, I put that up while you were talking there, Andy, because it's kind of in agreement with you that we've got the highest wage bill in the league, and Marty's there bigging up the opposition. That's just how it is. We've got a couple more minutes left of the preview. We've got a couple more jobs to do. First job coming up very shortly is to have a look at players that have played for both sides. So if you're watching a long live, you've not got very long to get those racked from the depths of your brain somewhere, and we'll finish on predictions. So if you're watching live, get your comments in with players that have played for both and your predictions. I'm just going to do a little bit of manoeuvring here because Jono Towers has decided to make a last-minute appearance and pop in and join in the fun. So let's make some room for him. There we go. Here he is. He's just he's echoed what we've talked about for the last half an hour there with his little caption saying "turn another corner." Yeah, it feels like we're trying to turn corners every single week, Jono. You're absolutely right. Jono's joining us basically just in time to talk about players that have played for both sides and give us his prediction right near the end. So, Jono, we'll come straight to you. Hope you're well. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for managing to dip out of whatever responsibilities you've had today to pop on for the last couple of minutes. When I say players that have played for both sides, Leicester and Watford, who immediately comes to mind?
I've ducked in just at the wrong moment because I'm racking my brains and
He's got nothing.
I'm really struggling, to be honest.
Hang on, you have a think. We'll go to Andy.
Yeah.
There's a few. Lloyd Dyer. I think that was one of them. Jordan Stewart. Struggling now. Kevin Phillips. Did he play for them?
He did, yes. Good shout.
Wow, Kevin Phillips has been played everywhere, hasn't he, Kevin Phillips?
Yeah. They're the three that stand out to me.
Yeah, Jordan Stewart's the only player rather to have made more than 100 appearances for both sides since these particular stats that I'm currently looking at on my phone began. Don't quote me on that. Davkovsky's made a good point there. Yeah, Hamza Chowdhury was on loan at Watford in 2022. Tom Cleverley, who I mentioned earlier, who got sacked as the manager in the summer, he played for both sides. Who else we got? Trevor Benjamin, big Trev is in there, and somebody I meant to mention earlier actually, who is currently in the Watford squad. This might surprise you. Papi Mendy is a Watford player. Has been all season. And is fit and available as far as I can see. He's only made 5 appearances this season, so he's obviously not quite the player that we discovered for that 115 game run of form many years ago that made us think that finally we'd found the Kante replacement. But Davkovsky's also come in with managers. Yep, Ranieri, Nigel Pearson as well is another one that we could talk about there. So. I think we've basically just done you a favour there, Jono, and bailed you out and got through all of them. So before we get onto our predictions, you got another one.
I'd love to have seen, and that was Troy Deeney. I'd love to have signed him a few years ago, but I know that was muted back in the day. But yeah, unfortunately, that never happened, did it?
And as I mentioned earlier on the show yesterday, we were talking about what profile of player we're looking for in the January transfer window. If somebody like a battering ram leader like Troy Deeney was available, obviously not actually him because he's well over the hill now and he's doing his punditry work, but a profile like that who's just going to drive standards and take no rubbish, I absolutely think is right. Just before we get on to the predictions, so guys watching along, you've got a minute or so to do that. Jono, just very, very quickly. I usually start the preview with this, and me and Andy did. But I know you like to be asked a question. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about Boxing Day?
I'm strangely optimistic, to be honest. I'd like to think that the game last week was a bit of a blip. I thought we saw some green shoots from the previous few games, 2 or 3 games before that. And I don't know what happened last time round. I wasn't expecting that dire performance at all. And I think we'll come out and turn another corner at home against Watford. I'm actually thinking that we might actually get a clean sheet.
This is not just a little bit optimistic. This is. I mean, have you been out on the Christmas beverages this afternoon?
Yeah, Johnny? I don't know what I've been eating or drinking, but for some reason I'm feeling reasonably good, and I feel like we could get a clean sheet. I don't know if you want me to predict, but
go for it. Prediction time.
I think we'll get a 2-0. I think we'll come out the gates and impose ourselves on the game, like we've seen in the past couple of games, Derby and the Ipswich game in particular. And at home, I think that they'll be up for it to try and put it right again.
Andy, you looked a little bit shocked there. It's the biggest smile I've seen on your face in the last 2 shows is when Jono turns up and says we're going to get a clean sheet. Your prediction?
I see where Jono's coming from. I really do. On the whole, let's try and be positive again. It was a blip. 100% it was a blip. I can't quite get to the clean sheet that you're after, but I'll go for the win. I'm going to go 2-1 because, again, we like green shoots is a great word. We did see something for the 3 or 4 games. Let's try and put that one behind us. Let's just say it was a blip and let's go 2-1. A decent performance, a solid performance, another 60, 70 minutes of solid, consistent performances, starting off the game really well. That's what I'm going to see.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 as well, and Ramsey to get himself back on the score sheet. Tony Smith, thanks for watching along with us this afternoon, saying, unfortunately, we're going to mess it up again and it's going to be a 1-1. At least it's a point. And Davkovsky, thank you to you for your comments as well this afternoon, saying they hope that Jono's right. And they're backing your prediction of 2-0, so maybe it's not quite as far-fetched as we thought. Thank you, everybody, for watching along, either live or watching back and choosing For Fox's Sake over the festive period. This is our final show before Christmas, so we wish you a very happy Christmas and enjoy it with your friends and family. And hopefully the football can make it slightly more enjoyable for you as well. Last order of business is one more time for me to point you in the direction of our brand new website, launching January the 1st, forfoxsake.news, a subscription-based website led by me, Andy, and Pete Selby to bring you loads more than we ever could through our podcasts and shows. So check it out, forfoxsake.news. Register your email address there. Register your early interest. You'll be eligible for a discount on subscriptions, and we'll have loads and loads of great stuff to show you on January the 1st. We will be back with a For Fox's Sake episode of some description sometime between Boxing Day and New Year, depending on when we can all collate our festive schedules and get back together to talk about the football. But for now, very Merry Christmas, up the Leicester, keep the faith, all the catchphrases you could possibly think of, and let's pray that Jono's 2-0 prediction for Boxing Day against Watford comes true.